What is going on, moviegoers alike? I'm Jeremy,
I'm Gabe.
and this is Cinnamon. If you were a early subscriber of our other YouTube channel, we
Either of
changed.
them.
Yeah, them. We changed email addresses, and we have a new channel coming up. And I think we're gonna transfer most of our video files from the last year or so of movie reviews that we've done and transfer them over to the new channel. Mainly because that old email was just not usable and I barely used it for anything else. And also, it wasn't really set on what we wanted to do. And so I made a new email and I'm just going to transfer all the video files. And this is going to be straight up just me and Gabe's channel. And if you enjoy our content, that's pretty much what we're going to do. Just talk movies, podcast about an hour or so, and specifically about movies. Speaking of which, we are going to talk about the movie Donnie Darko.
Yes, so, Suro.
I've heard about it a bunch and I heard it as a cult classic. And I just got done finishing it.
Like literally, right?
Literally, like that TV is like paused on the credits. It's actually on YouTube if you guys want to go see it. It's on YouTube. Yeah, like I searched Donnie Darko full movie and like it's on YouTube with like legitimately like the theatrical cut. Just search it. It's the first thing. I'm like, why hasn't this been taken down? I don't know.
YouTube is weird. Like sometimes they I guess because it's not like a Disney thing or it's not like I don't know what company owns it, but like might not be a major studio.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't know. Sometimes movies get by with copyright path. Getting with Donnie Darko, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, and he's like this sort of troubled kid with a bunch of I guess
emotional
problems. He's a little bit unstable. It's set in the 80s, 1988. It was made in 2001. And it's pretty much about this 28-day time lapse or so where in the beginning there's this big plane crash and the Jake Gyllenhaal's character, Donnie, he has like this sleepwalking phase where he goes and follows this rabbit named Frank. During one of his phases, he sleepwalks out into the outside area, and during that time, a plane crashes right into his bedroom. So if he was in his bedroom, he probably would have been crushed, but he doesn't. He survives because he's following this sort of, I guess, hallucinogenic rabbit that he follows through outside of his house into the neighborhood. And the rabbit tells him basically that the entire world will end in 28 days. And he wakes up at a golf course the next day, like near his neighborhood, with the timer of the world ending on his arm. So basically, that's kind of the setup of the movie. There's more to it than that.
You had a hard time summarizing the plot.
I did.
It's hard. It's difficult. People don't know how to talk about it or categorize it. I feel like you would just have to talk about every aspect of the movie to really.
I felt like I was spoiling too much.
I don't know, because like when it was pitched to me before I ever saw it, it's like, yeah, there's this weird tall bunny, kind of freaky looking. And I was like, okay. And I saw it. It's like that's one element, like a big element, but it's just one piece of the puzzle. That is Donnie Darko. Like, there's a lot going on with the movie.
Maggie Gyllenhaal is also in it. She plays his Jake Gyllenhaal's sister, which they're actually siblings in real life.
That's not a coincidence?
Oh, I didn't think so. Who would have thought that they'd be cast as brother and sister in a family when they're really brother and sister in real life? Drew Barrymore is an English teacher. Kitty.
We got a lot of familiar faces.
A lot of familiar faces. And
Patrick Swayze
as a motivational speaker. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He plays this guy named Jim Cunningham who visits the school due to Kitty, the gym coach. She wanted him to visit the school so that the kids would get a sense of a balance of like, okay, fear and love and like how you should avoid fear and go towards love. She was super into that. We have the science teacher that Donnie
by the guy from ER.
Yeah.
Not George Clooney.
Yeah, no, not George Clooney, who Donnie goes a sort of teacher to student friendship about because he really wants to know about time travel due to his hallucinations. I don't really know. I'm not sure. It's hard to explain this movie. It's a lot. If you haven't seen it, like I said, please watch it and sort of dissect it yourself. But I had a hard time getting into it the first 30 minutes. I was like, okay, so the plane crashes. Donnie survives because he's sleepwalking. Had he not survived, he would be crushed. And then he goes to visit his therapist more often ever since the plane crash. And Dr. Thurman, who, I don't know, for some reason, to me, she just got on my nerves. She just like was acting like the actress sort of acted like a regular, like by the books, run of the mill therapist. Asking questions like, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about this? How do you feel?
I feel like she's supposed to come across that way, though.
I know. Yeah. It just was, okay, it was very obvious that she was supposed to act like a run-of-the-mill therapist. And I guess there were some things that I wanted, but I was telling myself, look, this movie probably has a lot of underlying themes and metaphors behind it. Just sit back and watch it. And so after the half hour, this was after he floods the school. I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to sit back and watch it and continue to figure out where this movie's going to go. And so towards the end of the movie, I was like, okay, wow, this movie surprised me. But let's sort of dive deep into the requests that Frank the bunny wants to happen and wants Donnie to do. So basically, Donnie floods the school. And then after he's like seeing the Evil Dead with his girlfriend. I don't really get their relationship, but hey, it's high school, so you really don't get anyone's.
You don't get their relationship?
I mean, sense. Yeah, she has a troubled past too. She has her father like got stabbed or something.
Her mother got stabbed.
Her mother got stabbed multiple times, and she gets made fun of it at school by bullies, by Seth Rogen, who's in this movie randomly. I'm just like, what? I guess this is how your career starts. You just like play side characters of strange people. So I guess traumatic people get together, and that's how relationships form in movies. I like the whole aesthetic of the movie. It feels like you're watching a movie from the 80s. The camera quality is very 80s-like. The editing is very 80s-like.
The soundtrack,
like the second you see the school, like Head Over Heels starts playing by Tears for Fears. Which
in that incredible sequence where we follow along. It's almost like it's not like a television show, but it's like the way it's introducing all these characters. Everything fits so well together. It could be like you're setting up like a television, like a cast of characters. But I think for this movie, it's just about showing you Donnie's world, like making you understand like the kind of environment that he's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the whole movie is about conformity, I think.
Conformity. Explain that.
They're coming at this school where the administration is very narrow-minded.
Yes.
They try to simplify. They don't understand the nuances that young people are feeling about the world, so they try to simplify it into
fear,
love and fear.
Yeah, love and fear. Right.
And that's one of the big scenes with Donnie is that he tries to explain to his teacher that that's just not how the world works. That you can't divide it that way. And she just like she won't even listen to him. She's just like, choose one or the other.
Yeah. Please stop embarrassing me in my class. You're just a student. Just choose one or the other. Okay.
Yeah. And like they're all wearing uniforms, and I think that's kind of symbolic that the school's trying to make everybody like each other. And Donnie's like, no, I'm a weird dude. I see 6 foot tall rabbits named Frank.
Yeah.
And I embrace that. That's cool.
Interesting. I actually never thought of that way. Maybe because of the fact that, yeah, you're right. Most schools, including this one, do have similar uniforms. Everyone wears the same thing every day. And it's sort of like a visual metaphor of conformity of like, you have to just be this and continue to be this. If you go against that, like you are considered not like you're not conforming, and that's not good. Okay, we have a set of rules that you must follow: what you wear, how you walk, and
what you read,
and it's sort of a interesting take on public schools, I would say.
Schools on just like it's kind of like I think the generational divide.
Yeah.
I think it said the 80s were a very conservative decade. It said during an election year, and the first line of the movie is, "I'm voting for Dukakis."
Right. Yeah. And then the parents are like, "What, really? Why would you do that?"
Yeah. That little subtext, to me, like, the movie has a lot of metaphors and a lot of questions. To me, that's like, it's fun to think about, but what I'm really focusing on in the movie is this world that Donnie's trying to break away from. This world he's like trying to escape from.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. I like that. All right. I kind of like the way that you analyzed it. Of course, you analyze movies a lot better when you see them more than once.
Yeah, I've been a fan of this movie for a long time. I saw it first probably around middle school.
Middle school?
I've seen it since then. Yeah, and actually, I recently got the new Blu-ray release from Arrow Video.
Nice.
So yeah, if you're a fan of this movie, I recommend checking it out. Even though, can I just rant a
Sure.
little bit?
Go ahead.
Look at the cover here. It's a great cover, right, for Blu-ray. But
it's a pretty damn good cover.
Yeah, but they put the little Blu-ray logo just like randomly
underneath, like on his hip.
On his hip or something.
Why?
Like, I've never seen that before. So Arrow Video, get back to me on this because I'm furious. I'm outraged.
Hopefully they see this video and try to reconcile with you. I hope so.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure they were one of our 14 subscribers.
Oh, please don't make us look bad.
All right, but getting back to the movie. So, you're watching this movie for the first time. Like, are you intrigued by all the questions, or are they frustrating you?
So, when questions frustrate me, I'm invested. It has my attention, which is a good thing. I mean, I wouldn't, if I didn't like this movie, I probably wouldn't finish it.
Sure.
With the previous movie that we reviewed, Cabin Fever, like that took me forever to finish, and I kept telling you how bad this movie is, and like this movie has no fucking message. Like I don't like it. I have no questions. I have no questions.
Right, better than Cabin Fever.
Oh, by a landslide! Like come on, by a landslide. What? Okay, but with this movie, it left me with a lot of questions. And then with your take on, since you have seen the movie a lot more than once, you have a interesting metaphorical analysis on how this movie tackles the idea of breaking away from the norm.
Sure.
Breaking away from normality and growing up and trying to figure out who you are and finding your place.
It's a coming of age story more than anything. And what the director said is that Donnie Darko is The Catcher in the Rye told by Philip K. Dick. Do you know Philip K. Dick?
I don't, but I know The Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah. Philip K. Dick wrote Blade Runner and all these science fiction stories.
Okay. I've seen Blade Runner.
Yeah. So
yeah.
It's like taking the coming of age story and telling it in this science fiction kind of metaphysical way.
It did remind me of Blade Runner a little bit. I mean, even though both movies are vastly different in terms of plot and stuff, it did remind me with the I guess with the lens of a character and their perspective on things. Of course, both characters are vastly different, but it's just the themes of breaking away from like what's normal and what's abnormal. Can we talk about the sort of requests that Frank asks for Donnie on what to do?
He makes a few, right? He tells him to flunk the school. He tells him to burn down Jim Cunningham's house.
Cunningham.
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 Well, what we know about him, maybe.
Well, yeah, what we know about him, he's sort of a child a pedophile.
Yeah, pedophile.
Yeah,
Yeah. Spoiler alert. But,
which is
yeah,
funny.
so,
It's funny because they don't really like go into the investigation of who actually caused the fire. But anyways,
and it's also weird because they're investigating what happened to the school, and Donnie's a suspect, but they never follow up with that.
they never follow up with it. That's but I don't think that's what the movie is trying to tell the audience. These actions that he causes are sort of unjustified in that way, and I feel like they detract from. I mean, I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to tackle all these sorts of normalized themes of public school and the general fear and love thing, and because it would seem justified that he wants to burn down Jim Cunningham's place because he asked the question like, so you're basically like telling us this because you want money, like is that what you want? Is because you're doing this for money, like you're the Antichrist, and like it would seem very obvious, like, okay, he wants to do something to him, and like of course Frank alludes him to that, but of course his actions don't really go. There's no consequences to his actions, I would say.
Well, he doesn't exactly have a happy ending.
Yeah, but because of the time lapse.
Yeah,
but
well, that's the interesting question. Like by the end of the movie, we're going into spoilers, but the time loop resets itself. So he never flooded the school. He never burned down Jim Cunningham.
But I mean,
Cunningham, goddamn. Yeah,
you good? You're gonna say that
Patrick Swayze. He didn't burn down Patrick Swayze's house.
No one has burned down Patrick Swayze's house.
Well, that'd be weird because he's dead.
Yes, he is dead.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
But yeah, even though he never really did that, and the time lapse goes back in time 28 days, you gotta feel that like whenever the characters have this sort of deja vu moment, especially with Gretchen when before she even meets Donnie, like she rides her bike through the house, the Darko's house, and thinks like I feel like I know this person, and I know these people because even though she's never met him before in the time lapse. So yeah, it does sort of have a cop out. I think it's a bit of a cop out with the time lapse, but I get what's going on. I get what's going on as to why the time lapse happens. Mm-hmm. But again, I can't get behind the consequential actions that he commits. I just can't get behind that.
So you can't. I mean, you obviously don't morally agree with him burning down the house or flooding.
Well, if he does, then there should be consequences. I mean, in real life, I would say that okay, if this was trying to be as real as possible, then I would see him go to a mental asylum. I would see him go to a psych ward or something, because he tells all these things to a psychiatrist or a therapist. And I know because I've been to therapy before, and there's always this message like if you are causing harm to somebody, then they have the permission to call 911.
But he's not harming any. I mean, he's destroying property.
He's destroying property. Like,
but
he's destroying property.
Protected by the confidentiality between a patient and their doctor.
It overrides that. If he's causing property damages, he's like, okay, I don't think that a therapist would be okay with their patient causing property damages to a house. I think that the therapist would have the utmost permission to call 911, and that overrides the confidentiality rule.
I do not know the legality of this. From what I understood, unless the patient is putting someone in physical danger, then yes, you can override the confidentiality. But as I understand it, anything less than that is protected by that relationship.
I don't know. We're overanalyzing that. We're overanalyzing.
Yeah. This is such a small part of the movie. I mean,
it is. But I see that like that. I feel like that has to be addressed. Like if the plot goes into him going to a psych ward, and then the time lapse happens, and I'll be like, okay, makes sense. He, him doing all these actions does end up having him go to a psych ward because he's mentally unstable. But then with the time loop happening and him being in his room and not having anything to do with Frank, it sort of makes sense to me. It would have made this movie a lot more. It would explain itself. It would have been able to explain itself.
I feel like the movie's trying to leave so many questions for you. Like, the timeline is reset. Everything is wiped away, which honestly, if you want to call that anticlimactic, I could understand that. I think I like it more now than I did, just because I don't know. There's something about the kind of sacrifice of it. Like, Donnie knows that he's going to die. If he, like, to save the world, he must sacrifice himself. And I find that to be an interesting kind of redemption arc for his character. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I do have problems with the movie, and maybe we'll get into them. But for me, like, just the mood of it, just the ambiance, the cinematography, and the soundtrack,
it's eerie.
It's eerie, man.
Very,
but it's
very
also
eerie.
So it's all so familiar,
In what way?
Because it revolves around the kind of male high school experience, and even though his high school was a lot different than mine, it still manages to create like a relatability, but between the movie and the audience. And let's talk about Jake Gyllenhaal's performance, because I think that's a key factor here. I think Donnie Darko is kind of unsympathetic. Like, I don't think we're given much reason to like him. But something about Jake Gyllenhaal, like his genuine, like his angst, his confusion, and his anxiety about the world, I feel like that's what makes him relatable.
Yeah. It does. I kind of see some similar characters that he's played go into this. I saw Nightcrawler years ago. I love that movie. one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. It's very underrated, and it's solely put on Jake Gyllenhaal's performance as this cameraman who manipulates everybody that he gets involved with. There's something about him playing an unlikable character, doing all these horrible things to people, that he does the whole, I guess the anxiety and the confusion with him. It makes it seem like he needs to do this in order for him to be, I guess, relatable and likable as a character. And the comparisons with him playing the main character Nightcrawler with him playing Donnie Darko, it shows a lot of similarity in that.
Yeah, he's got such a versatile range. I mean, he really can play, I think, just anything, because, after this, he did Brokeback Mountain, and then he was in a lot of, romantic lead parts, and they did Nightcrawler.
Yeah, he can, and then to Mysterio. Yeah.
And he manages to do both. He's likable when he needs to be, and then he's an asshole when it's revealed.
Yeah.
But within this character, because he wasn't famous yet, he wasn't a star. I think he did a couple movies, like October Sky.
Oh yeah, here and there.
Yeah, so this was, I don't know if it made him a star, because this movie kind of bombed. It was released right after 9/11, which
it was a plane crash, and I mean they had no they couldn't see what the future was going to happen. What was going to happen with they had no clue. Often, actually, a lot of movies around that time involved plane crashes before 9/11, but it was just like before it happened.
Well, in Spider-Man, I think there was like a teaser trailer that had that showed the Twin Towers directly. Like, Spider-Man created a web between them to catch this helicopter of bad guys. You can find this online. It was
interesting
for the first Spider-Man movie. So, but this movie, it makes me really understand why Jake Gyllenhaal became a star. That being said, Donnie, some of the dialogue in this movie
Some dog is a bit weird. It's a bit weird.
it's weird, and I think Donnie says things. I think we're supposed to think it's clever. Um, the whole opening scene.
You are such a fuck ass.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm
I
not
mean,
really sure what that scene was supposed to be about. Maybe it's supposed to establish the conflict within the family. But I don't know. Like, I didn't really see like a conflict within the siblings. But I mean,
it was
it was
just a
there.
bit of an awkward scene.
It was yeah.
Dialogue could have used a rewrite for me. I don't know. A lot of the dialogue, I guess, the more exaggerated characters, like that one really weird teacher, Kitty.
Kitty, yeah, the gym coach.
Yeah, yeah, she's funny. She's funny.
Um,
I
there's
doubt
that
you did this to
that
spark
that
emotion.
scene where she goes to the Darko's house because she can't go to the competition, so she asked one of the Darko's or Donnie's mom to chaperone. That was such a weird dialogue driven scene. Like
I
she
thought
just
it was funny.
I thought it was so weird. I don't know. I thought it was just like this is either really cringe or just is it supposed to be funny? I don't really know.
Well, it's definitely supposed to be funny.
Yeah. There's also that one scene where Donnie wanted to kiss Gretchen and then she didn't want him to because she wanted wait for the right moment. And there's like, why? Where's the moment? She goes, well, I'm not going to kiss in front of a fat guy like sitting next to us. The camera pans to a dude in a jumpsuit.
That was funny. Yeah,
and walks away. I'm like, what? Am I supposed to laugh at this? I don't know. It was such a weird tonal shift to that scene.
which is fine. I mean, I think you could also describe this movie as a dark comedy in a lot of ways.
I can see
Like
that.
a lot of sections are devoted to this kind of really weird, off-putting sense of humor. I really love the scene where Donnie gets up there and just makes fun of Cunningham's face.
Cunningham. Yeah.
Cunningham. I said it right that time.
There you go. Good job.
Yeah, but he just bashes him to his face in front of this audience, and Spencer from iCarly is one of the kids.
Yes. I was gonna message you when I was watching the movie. I was like, dude, Spencer from iCarly. That's cool. Yeah.
A lot of familiar faces in this movie. It's really funny. Oh, and Ashley Tisdale too. Yeah.
What scene? I didn't catch it.
The same scene. She's the girl with pigtails who's like, oh, my sister's, she's scared she's getting fat or something like that.
Oh, okay. I guess I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
The scene where they go to Roberta Sparrow's house, like when the world ends, a car comes and clearly, like, Gretchen is not on the road. She's just in the driveway of the car, and then the car just does. When it comes, it doesn't stop and it just runs her over. And I'm like, how did you not see her? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, that's like one of the most important scenes. You see how Frank became Frank. He was this kid at a Halloween party that Donnie shot in the eye.
He shot him, and then that's how it became. Whoa, holy shit. Okay, so which leads me to this question.
Okay.
Since Frank was a real person and ran over Gretchen, which made Donnie shoot him in the eye, how come Frank was in Donnie's head this whole time, and Frank was actually real? And then when Frank, whenever they're in the movie theater watching The Evil Dead, and Frank the bunny was sitting there through Donnie's mind, takes off his mask, and you see his eyes is shot at, and that's foreshadowing. But why is Donnie seeing this ghost, this person who actually is alive and was at the Halloween party 2 weeks later?
Well, I think Frank was chosen to be the messenger to kind of guide Donnie on this path. Because it's clear that the universe is like making stuff happen. Like the
Hmm.
universe wants to correct things. So Frank, I think, is the agent of that. I think Frank was chosen to kind of to lead Donnie through that whole process.
Yeah, but does Frank, the actual person, know? Like, does he know?
Well, he's like a ghost at this point. Um,
Yeah, but he was still alive, even though Donnie was seeing hallucinations of him.
yeah. So like the Frank at the Halloween party doesn't know he's a kid.
Yeah,
He's not involved yet. It's a time loop. He dies there and then he gets sent back um to warn Donnie of everything.
yeah. Hmm. Makes me think. My brain is kind of
I was yeah, I was really surprised
makes me think
that
about
Frank,
that.
yeah, the
That's some
Frank.
that's some clever writing right there, I would say.
Mhm. No, it's a really interesting thought. I mean, the whole stuff with Frank, that whole subplot, it's obviously my favorite part of the movie because
Yeah, the hallucinations of
um,
Frank
yeah,
making Donnie do stuff. Yeah.
I'm partial to horror and partial to creepy, really abstract ideas. And that just like the fact that he's a bunny, it's like so you could call it random, but it just adds something. Really
Do
does.
you think it foreshadows a Halloween party?
No, I didn't know that Frank was a guy in a bunny suit until that scene in the theater. I thought it was just a big bunny.
I did too, but when he takes it off and it shows that Frank is a real person, but he just has looks like his eye got messed up. To me, I thought that okay, this guy was dead before, or he has been died. He died, and he's a ghost in Donnie's mind. But do you think that the costume foreshadowed the Halloween party?
I
Because
wouldn't say foreshadow. I wasn't like, oh, a Halloween party is coming up. You know, I was like, okay, so he was actually wearing a suit, and you know, I didn't even, I didn't even figure that would be explained. I just thought that was another little detail they threw in there
yeah,
to make
because
it more
because
ominous.
Donnie wanted to, well, since his sister got into Harvard, he wanted to host a little party because the parents were gone. Hmm. What I'm asking is, why did Donnie want to start or host a Halloween party to begin with?
He probably to take his mind off things. Probably just wanted to, live it up a little before the
Okay,
world really ended.
the
Um,
day before. I see. Okay, yeah, yeah.
yeah. I
Huh.
mean, you can see he's a socially awkward person. He's not used to stuff like that. I think he's trying to have fun.
Okay,
Mm. I
gotcha.
think I agree. It was a little random, like, oh, we're gonna throw a party. It's like
Yeah, but the thing is with the whole time travel thing, where you could see where people were going based on the little
things that come out of his
gooey
head.
thing that
Yeah.
comes out of their stomach. Maybe Donnie was. I don't know. I'm thinking Donnie when he saw the person behind the bunny mask. I don't
That
know. Maybe he knew. I mean, I think maybe he knew that he was going to show up at some point. And so I was thinking, well, it's in a costume and Halloween's coming up. And apparently the world ends at Halloween.
that is interesting.
Yeah, maybe.
He's never he's never done like he usually waits for Frank to tell him what to do. So he'd be figuring things out on his own, which he doesn't normally throughout the movie. I don't know. That is actually an interesting idea.
Yeah.
Um, so Frank is his sister's boyfriend, right?
Elizabeth's
Maggie
boyfriend.
Gyllenhaal's boyfriend. I think
Elizabeth's
she is.
boyfriend. Yeah.
Mhm.
And
So that means that Donnie probably knew him, probably knew who he was after he took off the mask in the theater.
there's a lot of off-screen questions that arise to this. A lot of off-screen questions because they don't really show it.
They
You didn't watch
don't,
the, you
but
didn't. I didn't watch the director's cut, and there's 20 more minutes to the director's cut.
Okay,
So
let's transition now. I
okay.
really want to talk about the director's cut.
I haven't seen
Um,
it, so I mean, like, what's the difference? Like, I mean, there's 20 minutes
so,
of footage, so
right. There are some subtle differences and some bigger ones. The big difference is that there are a lot of scenes of exposition, namely in how time travel works and the mechanics of it. To me, the exposition was not helpful at all. It just felt like padding. Like I did not need those questions
okay.
answered by the movie. There are some other weird changes, like that scene where it's the first scene, he's riding around his neighborhood on his bike, and that song is playing, the under blue moon I saw you.
Yeah, in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah. So in the director's cut, that has a different soundtrack. That scene has a different song to it.
Okay.
And I just think the song they used in the director's cut just was not nearly as good, like not nearly as effective. But okay, so that's a personal preference of mine. I know a lot
Okay.
of people do like the director's cut. Me, it's really, I don't know, it's inferior.
I
I
see.
would not, I personally
Okay.
would not watch it over the theatrical. My own
S-
personal opinion.
Okay. So, okay. Answer me this: who does the exposition with the whole time travel? Who explains exactly?
My memory, I haven't seen the director's cut in a while. I remember it being like the teachers,
The science teacher.
like the science teacher. There are a lot more scenes with Drew Barrymore. She's a problem I have with this movie. I don't like her character.
She's kind of sensual. I don't know, because whenever Gretchen comes in as a new student, she goes,
Yeah.
"You can sit next
Um,
to the cutest boy in the classroom." And I'm like,
yeah, that was bullshit.
weird. Okay, that would never. No teacher would say that ever in this current time.
That's
I don't.
showing what a free liberal spirit she is. She's supposed to embody.
And then she
Uh,
like makes this girl who's sitting next to Donnie move out of her seat. Like,
because Donnie was the cutest boy.
apparently, I mean,
I mean,
so I feel like that's like, we have to have this happen because this is a plot. This is a plot device.
yeah.
This needs to happen. This is how they have to meet. I'm just like, okay, weird.
No, I did not like that. I didn't like her character in general. I thought she was
I laughed at her scream when she screamed when
that's
she was
funny.
getting fired.
She she was pretentious, but I didn't think she really understood the teens better than the other faculty did.
I feel like she was out of place.
She was out of
Characters.
place. She doesn't even have a relationship with Donnie or with anybody
I kind of
really.
wanted her to have a relationship with Donnie, whether it be sexual or like teacher to student relationship. I wanted a relationship to happen. I'm like, okay, so you're in this movie for what reason?
Yeah, no, they have one scene where she says that cellar door is the most beautiful word. Which
Yeah, and then that triggers Donnie into going to cellar door, the whole cellar door thing at the Sparrow House.
so the writing is a little uneven, right? Like some plot twists or like, oh, that's how this happened are really clever. Like I think Frank turning out to be the guy who ran Gretchen over was really cool.
Very
The
cool.
cellar door setup, no, that did not work for me.
Yeah, I don't know. That was weird. Uh, Drew Barrymore's character was strange.
Mm.
What about the student who she's the I guess she's Asian.
Yeah. Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
All the kids make fun of her.
yeah, and I'm like, that's really racist. The comment about her going back to China was really racist.
It was the '80s.
It was the '80s. But what was the significance of her character? I didn't really see how she had a connection to any of the main ones. It just seemed like she was just a student to
She
me.
was just there. I think she represents the outsider, the outcast, who gets bullied and attacked for not being like everybody else.
Yeah,
Um,
I guess.
yeah.
Okay, because it seemed like she was in the right place at the right time, where characters were having like some sort of mental breakdown, or like when they were doing something.
I think that's also a thing about how, like, these wallflowers, people who blend in, they're the ones who see the most because people don't notice them. You know. So I think
Yeah,
she's like the person who has like the most insight, or at least she's seen the most out of the people at the school.
hmm. Interesting.
Uh,
Okay.
but then the only thing I don't like though is that, I mean, the movie makes fun of her. Like she puts on this cringy
Like,
talent show thing.
yeah, that was okay.
So it's like,
And then she
okay,
gets made fun of doing that. Like some kids in the back of the theater are
sure.
like berating her.
Yeah. So it felt like the movie was also making fun of her, which felt a little mean. Like I
It was a
didn't
bit
really
mean
like it,
spirited. I just
but
didn't see why she needed to be in the movie or why was she had to be made fun of. Maybe because of course it's the 80s and people were pretty racist in
people
the
were
80s, I
not very
guess.
politically correct.
Yeah, not very PC.
Yeah. They're
But
nice.
like, what was up?
Or nice. I don't know.
Yeah, they weren't nice to her at all. Like,
No.
like why are you? I don't know. Yeah.
Hmm.
I guess we could go into more questions with this movie, but
Then we'd be here all day.
we would.
Like,
We definitely
so many
would.
questions.
I might see this once more and then maybe come back to it if you want to do like a reanalysis of this movie again. But yeah, I might see this again and maybe the director's cut. I don't know.
Maybe because I've seen it.
See what's
I guess it's a good. I definitely don't want people to see that before the theatrical, just because it adds a lot of padding that I think newtown viewers will not have patience for.
well, yeah. I mean, they wanted the movie under 2 hours.
Right,
Yeah,
right. It
according
does
to
feel a little short in some regards, but at the same time, I think the scenes that they cut out should have been cut out for the theater.
Yeah.
Not that it helped its box office. Jeez.
The ending of this movie, the song that plays at the ending, it really didn't age well.
It's now.
It's a meme now. So, of course, when I heard it, I'm like, oh no, they're gonna play the meme song. Oh no. I mean, of course, they didn't know that it would become a meme later in the 2010s, but like, couldn't help it. Yeah, it was a bit comical at the end, but I could see why everybody was feeling this emotional weight, this like sort of deja vu dream or something.
I still like it. Yeah, I just gotta remind myself it wasn't a meme yet.
It wasn't a meme yet, but when I hear the song, I'm like I laugh because it's funny.
Now I get
that. Yeah, but
I still like it though. In the movie, did you know that there is a sequel to this film?
Is it a bad one?
It's pretty bad. The sequel follows the youngest sister, the little girl.
Darko.
Yeah, but he also would not have returned for it because it had a budget of $5, or at least it looks like it did.
4 million, actually.
That's as much as the original. What?
It has 0.5 less than the original.
And it looks like the original looks so beautiful. Like
it's amazing how $500,000 can change a movie.
Well, it's amazing how much talent can change your movie.
That's true. Was it written by? Oh, okay. It wasn't written by Richard Kelly.
No, nobody came back. The only returning person is the little sister. Like
really?
Actress. Yeah, basically.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but what I would like to do actually for this podcast is to finally watch that sequel and reconvene, talk about it.
Okay.
Do it, Jeremy. Do it. Do it for me.
I'll do it. It shouldn't be. Well, it's a movie that we haven't seen, so it'll be the first time that we see it. It wasn't like the Cabin Fever movie where you've already seen it, and I had to watch the monstrosity that it was.
Okay, monstrosity. It was not that bad.
For what it was, it knew what it was. Like I said, but yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah. To a person who does not like that type of movie, it's terrible.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you enjoyed Donnie Darko. I'm glad that
it's not bad. It's pretty good. I wish I could have seen it sooner. Maybe in my high school years or middle school years to maybe have appreciated it more. But seeing it now, I don't have the nostalgic feeling toward it. like most people might have whenever they saw whenever they're younger. I could see that younger people would enjoy this movie a lot more than older people. I could see that.
That's probably true. I mean, if you're in the age group that would have been an adult in the 80s, if you're from that generation, it'll probably be hard for you to relate to it unless you are, unless you're a bit more liberal or a bit more free spirit.
Mm-hmm. Like, for example, I loved Perks of Being a Wallflower when I was in high school. I loved that movie. I saw it recently. I have some issues with it.
That'd be an interesting podcast. I need it.
Yeah, I have some issues with the movie. But as a high school kid growing up, I wasn't very popular. I didn't have any friends. Sort of socially awkward.
What?
Yeah. Who would have thought? And so seeing the movie, I resonated with really well because I could see myself in his shoes. Maybe not his past, but his interactions with students and teachers and stuff. I could totally relate to that. And so when movies are relatable to you at a certain time in your age, they become more personal and you like it much more. And then when you grow out of that, you see it again and you're like, okay, well, maybe I liked it for this reason. Now I kind of see the issues because I'm not that person anymore. I've grown up, So.
No, that's a good point. I mean, the best coming of age movies should resonate with everybody because they do tap into like a universal feeling of, wondering where you belong or, something along those lines. And there are other ones that they speak to you at a very specific point in your life, and then you kind of grow out of it. So.
Yeah. I right now I can't think of any movies, but if I can like think of movies that I've seen that I loved when I was little, and then watch them again and realize, okay, they're not that great as I thought it would be. There's a lot of movies like that.
Sure.
So, but if you haven't seen Donnie Darko, and if you haven't seen it and you're like 16, 17, watch it. You'll enjoy it. If you're a lot older than that, still watch it. It's good. It's a cult classic. It's a huge cult following. Makes you think a lot.
If you like science fiction or kind of the more abstract, kind of maybe art house approach to that genre, I think you'll like it too. I think there's a lot to like for everybody. You just have to be aware. It's not it is a different type of movie. It's unique. It needs a little patience, right?
Yeah, it does.
So just know what to expect.
I have this thought just popped in my head. This interesting comparison. Do you feel like the butterfly effect is a more commercially adapted similarity to this
version of this? I've not seen the butterfly effect.
It's very commercial. It appeals to a large audience.
I haven't seen the butterfly effect.
I've seen it so many times. It has a lot of 90s things. Well, it was made in 2004, but like those movies that are made in the early 2000s that still have that 90s grab.
Actually, yeah, I do.
Yeah. It does have a lot of those things.
Let me get back to you on that.
What's up?
Let me get back to you on that comparison.
Yeah, if you liked this discussion of Donnie Darko and you didn't get spoilers or the spoilers didn't ruin your experience watching this video, then go watch it. It's a good movie. Stay tuned for more podcasts. I'm probably going to upload a bunch of previous podcasts from the other channel that we had onto this new channel. So if you haven't seen those videos, give it a watch. We have a ton of old content like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood review and discussion. We have Spider-Man Far From Home. We've got Cabin Fever, like we discussed in this earlier podcast. We also have the couple of other podcast discussions regarding movies.
I dare you to upload the Return of the Jedi.
Oh, we also have the Return of the Jedi discussion and why we don't really like it and why it's bad. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Feel free to give us feedback on your thoughts. If you've seen Donnie Darko, please give us some comments and feedback on your thoughts of what we thought of it and what you think of it. Anyways, thank you for watching. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Gabe.
And this is Cinnamon signing out.